Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to the Book Wormhole. So for this video, I am going to do my top 10 science fiction reads of 2023. This doesn't necessarily mean these books came out in the year of 2023, but just that I read them for the first time in 2023. There is one exception to that though. You will see when I get into it. For some of these books, I want to do like individual in-depth analysis videos that definitely include some spoilers, so let me know in the comments if you want to hear more about any of these titles, but this specific video is going to be spoiler free. But overall, just give you a little bit of a taste of what the book's about and what I really liked about it. So in 10th place, Tell Me an Ending by Joe Harkin. For years, people have used the technology to remove memories of traumatic or otherwise undesirable events. After coming under controversy, the company responsible contacts all patients, offering to return the memories. 5 patients have to decide whether or not they want to remember what they willingly chose to forget. The 5 narrative points of views work well for this book, fully exploring the concept of memory deletion through different scenarios and different reasons why they wanted to forget in the first place. I like the relation of memory and trauma to identity. A really clever writing choice is the lack of quotation marks when recounting past conversations, usually to indicate an approximation of what was said rather than a word-by-word recreation of what was said. This authentically captures how memory is fallible. And I appreciate how everything wasn't black and white. In the end, memory deletion is neither entirely good or bad, just like the main antagonist of the story has done both good and bad things. In 9th place, Mage of Fools by Eugene Bacon. Mafinga's dictator has driven the city to destruction under the guidance of an otherworldly sorcerer. Armed with a story machine, Jasmine seeks the truth, which might undermine the dictator and his sorcerer. Honestly, the concept of a Rasputin retelling, but instead Rasputin is an alien, is really cool. Is that a spoiler? Atari as a character is well done. I like how the author relays his alienness through human characters' reaction to him. For a story where aliens are not commonplace and no one knows they exist, it makes sense for characters to respond to him as thinking he is a slightly off-looking human. I like how his alien powers are mistaken for magic, as oftentimes unexplained science is magic. To top it off, the book is crafted with beautiful prose. At number 8, I Am I by I. Jang. People want the convenience of AI written work, but want it to sound human. This is where cyborg writer I has created her niche in the high competition world. However, in order to meet demands, she continues to trade away pieces of her body to become more machine. This book is very topical with its discussion of AI created writing, but also very well done and relatable to our current world. One of my favorite concepts in the book was a physical battery that I has to recharge, representing the energy we all have to spend on certain day-to-day tasks. I like how I experiences burnout by her battery not charging as well. This was a very gripping read that I read in one sitting. In place number 7, A Wrinkle in Time. Years after her father's mysterious disappearance at work, Meg is approached by a strange woman who pulls her, her brother, and her friend into other worlds in hopes of recovering her missing father. I think this may be one of the earliest examples of science fantasy, as magic is explained through science. Meg as a character is as revolutionary today as she was back in 1962. She is allowed to be flawed and human, which makes her compelling to follow in this coming-of-age story. I loved how she was incredibly smart but bad at school, but also that this showed how being bad at school discouraged her and made her think that she was stupid, which I think is something that often happens. So I like that this book tells kids that just because you're bad at school doesn't mean that you're dumb. This one is a middle grade, but still incredibly enjoyable to read for the first time as an adult. However, I do think I would have gotten even more out of this book had I read it as a child, so I recommend this book for anyone who has a child in their life to pass it along to. At place number 6, Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. Born with an unusually low IQ, Charlie Gordon jumps at the opportunity to have an experimental procedure which will increase his intelligence and therefore increase his quality of life. This one was actually a reread for me. But I first read it as a school assignment when I was 12, and while I liked it then, I didn't get as much out of it as I did when I read it now. I just didn't have the life experience I needed to appreciate the book for what it did. Written in first person as a journal Charlie keeps before and after the procedure, the writing starts off simplistic and written with errors and progressively gets cleaner and more advanced alongside Charlie. I really admired the skill that went into writing it this way, and it's so effective. Charlie as an empathetic main character who has a mental disability is so incredibly groundbreaking for 1959, and for today, as we still fail to see some people with disabilities as human. One of the plots I was initially cautious of but eventually enjoyed was Charlie's coming into his sexuality. At first, the story seemed to suggest that Charlie didn't experience sexual attraction before his operation, which is annoyingly infantilizing of disabled people. But it's later revealed that Charlie had suppressed this part of himself after his mother abused him out of her disgust at him for experiencing normal human sexual attraction, simply because he was disabled. So I like how this book points that out specifically, along with its overarching theme of disabled people are humans too, worthy and deserving of a good life. At number 5, Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. At 6 years old, Ender is among many children recruited into military training in hopes of ending the war against aliens that began long before his birth. Through playing war games and video games, Ender is honed into being the perfect general by his early teens. Empathy and perspective are two of the main themes of this book. Coming out in 1985, this book predicts much of the tech we have today, such as tablets. I was particularly interested with the accuracy about video games, particularly how video games are used as training tools of war in Ender's universe, whereas in ours, common video games are often made with the intention of recruiting children into the army. I thoroughly enjoyed the aliens in this book and that they truly felt alien. One of the big reveals I ended up guessing ahead of time, but that only heightened my enjoyment of reading this book, as I was like, no, as I was watching something horrific about to unfold. And number 4, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Fred once had her own name, a job, possessions, a family, and a husband. All of this was stripped away with the rise of the Republic of Gilead, and now Offred's only purpose is to procreate with her assigned man. This one was a little tough to read in the year 2023, but I'm glad I did read it. Again, yet another book that was incredibly prophetic in a way that makes it relevant decades after its initial release. I was cautious of the sexual scenes going in, but one thing that makes it even more repulsive than just gratuitous rape is how mechanic and soulless the intercourse is between Fred and the commander. And I like that there are women who are benefiting from this system, as misogynistic of a society as it is, which is true to life, as there are women who willingly choose to vote against rights for women, and it's because they are coming from a position of power that they don't want to disrupt it. I also found it refreshingly unique, and this is coming from someone who reads a lot of dystopian because it's what I like, that the main character lived before the rise of the new system and remembers her life before. It made it all the more devastating, but also showed how a system like that happens one change at a time. After reading the epilogue, I understood the hype around this book. As writing-wise, it is truly a masterpiece and every choice was done so consciously. In third place, Feed by M.T. Anderson. Life is carefree, and everyone has a computer installed in their brain. Main character Titus learns the downsides of this after experiencing a hacker attack. I want to start off by saying I listened to this as an audiobook, and I truly believe that that is the best way to experience the story. The dialogue is very intentionally vapid and full of filler words such as like, which might annoy some readers, but comes across as hilarious in the dramatized audiobook version. Also, there's commercials, since one of the core functions of the Mind Computer is to peddle products to users. And let me tell you the accuracy of this choice. I am so used to ads being shoved at me 24/7 that when the first commercial came on, I zoned out, thinking it was just some ad. Until I realized, oh, this is part of the story! And then I couldn't help but laugh. This came out in 2002, people! Also, Titus's kid brother being super obnoxious with this tech and playing random loud videos all the time is the perfect prediction of iPad kids. But that's not to say this book is all herder, technology bad, makes kids stupid. The book is sympathetic to these kids, showing that the main reason why vocabulary has suffered is because their brains are so busy being bombarded with ads that they don't have time to properly think. And while all of this is going on, and you have clubs on the moon that you can visit, so all this modern tech is great, right? But the actual state of the world sucks, and everyone has lesions from radiation poisoning, and behind all the ads, a world-destroying war is brewing, which our main characters can do nothing about. And I am like, oh my god, this does not feel like reality. Titus and Violet's romance is one of my favorites in young adult literature simply because it feels the most realistic. They both mess up in ways that teens would, making selfish decisions that hurt the other, not for the sake of drama, but because in context it makes sense. I honestly don't think this book is a young adult with how complex it is. The ending of this book made me want to simultaneously laugh and cry. In second place, Manhunt by Gretchen Felker-Martin. A disease which only affects people born with XY chromosomes turns people into flesh-eating monsters. Trans women Beth and Fran spend their days hunting monsters, scrounging for estrogen to keep them from going feral, and most importantly, protecting themselves from other women who only see them as potential monsters. This was the only horror book I read that actually disgusted and frightened me. There were some truly horrific moments that I couldn't believe the author went there, but at the same time remained entirely realistic within the world she established. Despite men being literal monsters in this book, all antagonists are actually women. Literally TERFs. That's what they're called. And it seems pointless that these two groups of women should be fighting each other when life as we know it is literally over. But that's the point! The book shows that we should have solidarity. And not all cis women are enemies. One of the allies is a cis woman who is fat, and I like how her fatness has made her be viewed as less as a woman by other women, which carries one of the main themes of this book, which is exploring the rigid definition our current society has of what it means to be a woman, and how women who don't fit that definition are treated as lesser. And without giving too much away, one of the trans characters is faced with the decision of living as a fully accepted woman, but betraying her friends and all trans women in the process. Another character is revealed to be someone who has already made this choice. And in first place, The Future of Another Timeline by Annalee Newitz. Tess is part of a group of time-traveling women who strategically place themselves in the past in order to make changes which will bring equality to their current time. Their current mission is to reinstate legal abortion in the United States, after another clandestine group of time travelers made it illegal. After Tess is sent on a scouting mission in the 90s, she encounters a past version of herself and attempts to prevent her greatest regrets from happening. This book came out in 2019, which, with the overturn of Roe versus Wade, it definitely hit differently. One of the things that makes this book great is that the author clearly knows their history, and I like how the different ways women have rebelled throughout time are shown in this novel. I like the inclusion of Riot Grrrl music in the 90s, and I think the author pulled on a lot of their own experiences with it, which gave this book a very nice personal touch. I think the time travel aspect was handled in a really unique way, with it actually being well-known technology, but being highly regulated for how, when, and where you can use it. I thought that was cool that in this universe it isn't a secret. There are only certain parts of the world where you can jump through time, and only people who have lived near one of those areas for a certain amount of time are able to time travel. I think those rules and limitations helped make the story more interesting, as sometimes time travel feels a little bit too overpowered. And of course, the consequences for meddling in your own past timeline, which I won't reveal, but I think the resolution was both satisfying and unique. So those were my top 10 science fiction reads of this past year. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these before. Again, let me know if there's any titles that you want me to do an analysis video of, including spoilers. And let me know what some of your favorite science fiction books were of this past year. I will add them on my TBR for next year. Remember to support your local library and shop independent when you can, and I will see you again in the future.